ADNOC, Bloomberg, and the UAE Ministry of Education have recently signed an agreement to help UAE students gain employment-focused financial training. Today, we speak with Mike Bloomberg, founder of Bloomberg L.P, about financial training and the global capital markets. I am Mash'al Al-Kindi, and this is ADNOC Insights. Mike, welcome to ADNOC Insights.
Thank you for having me.
To start with, why do you think it's important for the next generation of UAE leaders to have financial expertise?
Well, commerce makes the world go round, if you will, particularly for countries like this where trade, export, and import is so important. There are few countries that are as dependent on exports and imports, if you think about it, as the UAE. They export all the oil and they import people as well as technology and physical goods and agricultural goods. The world is becoming more technological. In order to have a career, in order to raise a family, more and more, you have to have a good education. I would argue that the only ways we are going to cure poverty around the world is by improving education. Without that, you just don't have a chance. And I think it's the fact that the UAE understands that and ADNOC participates in it, training people just generally to be well-rounded, to have better command of languages, to be better understanding of the world, but particularly in technology. Technology is going to do more things as we go forward, whether you like it or not. And either you're going to be included or you are not going to be able to feed your family, to have a better life, to live longer and know how to take care of yourself, and to be an interesting person and enjoy all the great things that human beings can experience.
You're also here to convene the first Bloomberg Capital Markets Forum in Abu Dhabi. You're working hard on developing a global dialogue with the public and private sector. What do you plan to achieve with that?
Well, I think that the ability to understand what's going on and to participate, to have a job where you can make a living and where you can go home and deal with the world and all of its opportunities and all of its problems depends on education. And finance is really the ways that we compare things and the ways that we get services and goods to each other. If you think about it, the invention of money was really quite something thousands of years ago because it lets you compare two things. How do you compare a sirloin steak with a Stradivarius violin? Well, you do it through money. The system isn't necessarily perfect, but that's the ways that you have two physical things that have no obvious connection, but that buyers and sellers have to make decisions all the time. Sometimes something's more fashionable than others. Sometimes that Stradivarius isn't needed if you don't have an orchestra and if you're really hungry. But nevertheless, you can't say, I don't need to know how finance works because I'm not going to be in finance. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a musician. Okay, music is math, and you certainly have to, in order to get to your place of employment, be able to drive that car and to understand the technology of how to use the cell phone to call and say, I'm going to be late. It really is all together.
You will participate in the New Economy Forum in Beijing soon, where ADNOC is a founding partner. What do you hope to accomplish there?
Well, I think a convening such as we have, where you have the top people from many, many industries all around the world together, provides them with the opportunity to meet each other and to share insights. And I think that if the conference is run well, The managers of the conference really are determine how valuable it is. If it's just I shake your hand, you shake mine, we can't remember each other's name, and we go off and never see each other again, it's not worth schlepping to Beijing for. If, on the other hand, we have a chance to dialogue, and I say, he's got some ideas, I want to come back and explore that more in the future. Or I can actually go back and say, I met this crazy guy in Beijing, but this is their idea, and maybe we can use it over here. That's what's really important. So what we're trying to do in our conference is give you preparation, knowing what the subjects are and letting you choose what you want to participate in, listen to, or read about. That distinguishes just a meeting where all it is what one cynic said, speed dating, rushing from one event to another, to something that is really valuable. The kind of people that we attract to a conference like this, they are serious. They are running the major governments and philanthropic organizations and corporations around the world. They don't have time for just speed dating. They know the difference. They want to be able to come home and say, this is what I learned, this is who I'm going to follow up with, this is what we should try. And you can even go back to Bloomberg and say, who was that person that I met and what did they say? And I'd like to review that. The days of just, I will go and get my ticket punched would be the American expression of showing up. Those days are gone. I don't think the senior executives, at least the kind of senior executives that we attract, they don't have the time for that.
In your view, what are the main challenges facing the global capital markets today?
Well, we're walking away from global cooperation, from global trade. If you take a look, the world has, in the last 3 decades, cut global poverty in half. If you measure global poverty by a meal in your stomach and a roof over your head and being literate, literally 50% of people who were poor back then, 3 decades ago, are no longer poor. If you stop global trade, you're going to hurt a lot of that because a lot of that progress was made in the developing world, and what they bring to the economic process is generally natural resources. And so if we don't continue to trade with them and transfer our knowledge to them so that they can lead healthier lives, longer lives, participate more, then they're the ones that are really going to get hurt. I also think the big countries get hurt because we have, in America, if we don't buy from overseas, our consumers have fewer options, and presumably for the options they have are going to have to pay more. And we don't have the economic opportunity to sell overseas where we would create jobs and wealth that we bring back. So we all get hurt by not having global growth. And today, the way the world works, an automobile engine, a combustion engine, has thousands of parts. And it goes back and forth across borders again and again and again. We send it over to you, you put in a part, you send it to him, he puts in a part, you send it to her, she puts in a part. That's the ways you take advantage of each country or company's expertise. And we've shown that it is better to do that than try to do everything in one place. If we start going back to that, and there is certainly some movement, certainly from the United States government at the moment, towards doing everything in-house. I think we've proven that's not the most efficient ways to do it, and we will all suffer.
What about the capital markets? Can they withstand these challenges and this kind of an environment? Or are we moving towards recessionary territory?
You can make the case that the future is less rosy, we would say, at the rate we're going. Now, that doesn't mean that overnight everything collapses, but when the opportunities decline, you don't start new things, and down the road you will not have the advantage of them. It's easy to say, oh, you've predicted something and look, it hasn't happened. Yeah, it's been 3 days. It takes longer than 3 days for things to get baked in. And reversing some of this is going to be very difficult because companies are going to say, I can't depend on an overseas source, or I can't depend on a source on the other side of my country, whatever my country is, or another company. We all do analysis before we deal with another company on their financial health and stability and management and technology and research facilities. The same thing you have to do when it's cross-border. You know, if there's a country that is really dependent on international trade, it's certainly this one. And they have a voice, and I think they have an obligation to themselves, but also to the world, to try to explain why the world is too complex to do it yourself. Things really are different, and that's why you have to attract the best and the brightest out of the schools. The future are people, I don't know about you, but a third of my age, maybe half in your case, and to think that they don't know everything, but they bring a different ways of looking at things, and things that you and I would never think about. The shared economy, they do things, they buy things differently, they value things differently, and the competition for the best and the brightest out of the schools is getting greater as every country understands that.
So now that you said that, I mean, in your view, how do you attract these young, talented people, and how do you retain them in, for example, an industry like
we do a lot of research to see whether hiring somebody straight out of school, whether they last longer, or hiring somebody who has had one job 2 or 3 years and understands that things aren't as rosy and you have to work hard and sometimes nobody listens to you, but you got to plow your way through. I've always thought that the deciding thing is how hard they are willing to work. Are they one of those people that get in early in the morning and stay late? Those are the people that like their jobs. If you like something, you do more of it. If you do more of it, you do better, and there's more reason to like it. If you don't like it, even subconsciously, you start doing less, you do a worse job, and there's more reason to hate what you're doing. It's the glass is half full or half empty. I've always respected those people that have it half full, and I have friends who have terrible problems, physical problems, economic problems, family problems, and what distinguishes those who are my friends from not generally are, they say, okay, you know, it would have been nicer if I didn't have this problem, but I have it, and this is how I'm going to approach it. And we would have the expression, they play the hand that was dealt to them in a card game. And those, I think, are the people that succeed. I've always thought I was never the smartest person in any situation, company, family, social life, but I could at least work as hard as anybody else. And so I'll work 24/7. I know you can tie me, but you're not going to beat me. And that's always been my advice to people. You just, you know, you have a certain IQ and you get certain opportunities, but the opportunities that you get greater the more time you work and the more open you are to new ideas, and the less, not less confidence in yourself, but the more you understand that other people may have good ideas too. And if you're open to them, you will do better. And you're not going to win every one, and sometimes you're a total failure no matter how much you work hard. But generally, we always joke that you need a lot of luck, but the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.